Hello students, welcome to the 16th session of quantitative techniques second. So in today's class we are going to learn regression analysis. So hope you remember our previous classes on scatter diagram, Carl Pearson's coefficient of correlation and Spearman's rank correlation. So from these concepts just try to answer my question. They have given price of these observations and demands of these observations. So based on this, so if price is rupees 90, so if price is 90, so what will be the demand? So if price is 90, what will be the demand? So can you answer this question? Or if demand is 65, so if demand lies in between this 60 and 50, 65, what will be the price? So what will be the price? So definitely, so it is not possible with the help of correlation. So from our value, we can decide the relationship between the variables. So we can decide whether there is any relationship between price and demand. But we cannot estimate the variables. We can estimate the value of price when we know demand. And we cannot estimate the demand when we know the prices. So for this drawback or to estimate the values of variable, we have a separate techniques called regression analysis. The method by which estimates are made from of the values of one known variable and to the measurement of errors involved in the estimation process. So we are going to estimate the value of one variable based on another known variable. So you can see in this case, so here we know the price and we are going to estimate the demand. So price is the known variable and demand is the unknown variable. Again here, demand is known variable. We know that demand is 65 and we are estimating the values for price. So price is the unknown variable. So from one known variable, we are going to estimate the values for another unknown variable. So for this, we have a technique called regression analysis. It's a statistical tool in predicting the value of one variable given the value of another. So we are going to predict the value of one variable when we already know the values of another, when those variables are related. It's very important term here. ನಮಗೆ ಯಾವ ಸಿಚುವೇಶನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್ ನ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಗೊತ್ತಿರ್ತದೆ ಆಗ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್ ನ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಫೈಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ನಾವು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡುವಂತ ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಟಿಕಲ್ ಟೂಲ್ ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು ರೆಗ್ರೆಷನ್ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕರಿತೇವೆ. ಸೊ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್ ನ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ ಗಳನ್ನ ಎಸ್ಟಿಮೇಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ ಅಥವಾ ಪ್ರಿಡಿಕ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಇಷ್ಟು ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ ಗಳು ಇರಬಹುದು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನಾವು ಅದರ ಅಸಂಪ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ, ಪ್ರಿಡಿಕ್ಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಸೊ ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಸೊ ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಎರರ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಕೂಡ ಇರುವಂತ ಚಾನ್ಸಸ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ. ಈ ಎರರ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನ ಎಷ್ಟು ಅಕ್ಯುರೇಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಅದರ ಎಸ್ಟಿಮೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ, ಅಲ್ಲಿರುವಂತ ಎರರ್ಸ್, ಪಾಸಿಬಲ್ ಎರರ್ಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಅದನ್ನ ಕೂಡ ಮೆಷರ್ಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಹೋಗ್ತೇವೆ. ಸೊ ವೆನ್ ದೋಸ್ ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್, ಅಫ್ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಈ ರೆಗ್ರೆಷನ್ ಅನಾಲಿಸಿಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾವು ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಆದ್ರೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂಸ್ಗಳಿರ್ತದೆ. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ವಿ ಹ್ಯಾವ್ ಸೀನ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ 90 rupees ಆದರೆ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿರ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಎಸ್ಟಿಮೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ಸ್ ಆರ್ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್, ಎರಡೂ ಕೂಡ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್ಸ್. ಬಟ್ ವಿ ಕ್ಯಾನ್ ನಾಟ್ estimate the values of unrelated variable. ಫಾರ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ 90 rupees ಇದ್ರೆ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಲೀಪಿಂಗ್ ಅವರ್ಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿರ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ನಾವು ಎಸ್ಟಿಮೇಷನ್ ಅನ್ನು ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬರುವುದಿಲ್ಲ. ಅಥವಾ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸ್ಲೀಪಿಂಗ್ ಅವರ್ಸ್ 6 hours ಎ ಡೇ ಅಂತ ಆದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರೈಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಎಷ್ಟು ಇರ್ತದೆ ಆ ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ ಸ್ಲೀಪಿಂಗ್ ಅವರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಫೈಂಡ್ ಔಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಬರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ಬೋತ್ ದ ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ರಿಲೇಟೆಡ್ and we are going to estimate the values of one variable when we know the value of another. So for this we use a statistical tool called regression analysis. So consider price as X and demand as Y. So we have taken the two variable price and demand, price as x and demand as y. Regression expressed. So regresssions ಅನ್ನು express ಮಾಡುವಂತದ್ದು that we are going to express as bxy and byx. So bxy indicates x on y and here byx indicates y on x. In bxy or x on y, we can identify two variables here, x and y. So in this case, dependent variable is x and independent variable is y. So we are going to find out the values for x. That means we are going to identify the value of x when we know the value of y. ನಮಗೆ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ ಎಷ್ಟಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಗೊತ್ತುಂಟು. ಮೇ ಬಿ ಡಿಮ್ಯಾಂಡ್ 65 ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಆದರೆ ಪ್ರೈಸಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟಾಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಅಸಂಪ್ಷನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಸೊ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಆನ್ ವೈ ವೆನ್ ಡಿಪೆಂಡೆಂಟ್ ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್ ಇಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಇಂಡಿಪೆಂಡೆಂಟ್ ವೇರಿಯಬಲ್ ಇಸ್ ವೈ. Again, you can cross verify yourself byx. That means y on x. So you can tell me dependent variable. So which is the dependent variable here? Of course, it's y is the dependent variable and independent variable is x. So this is how we need to represent the regression coefficient. And properties of regression analysis. So these properties represents the fundamental rules of regression analysis, which is very much needed for all the future problems. So be careful and be understood all these properties. The first thing, the coefficient of correlation is geometric mean of the two regression coefficients. The coefficient correlation are equals to geometric mean. You know that in case of geometric mean, we use the square root of the values, average values. So geometric mean of the two regression coefficients. So two regression coefficient we have seen here. Regression coefficients ಅನ್ನು ನಾವು represent ಮಾಡುವಂತದ್ದು bxy ಮತ್ತು byx ಆಗಿ. So our property is coefficient of correlation or equals to geometric mean. So square root of regression coefficient bxy plus byx. So this is the first property or first fundamental rule. Always or equals to square root of bxy plus byx. And the second property is if byx is positive, then bxy should be positive and vice versa. So both the regression coefficient should have the same symbol, either the positive or the negative. So here I can see if bxy is positive, automatically byx should also be positive. And again, if bxy is negative, automatically byx should also be negative. So both the regression coefficient represents the same symbol, either plus or minus. So in your solutions, in any case, by chance, if you got different symbols for regression coefficients in your answers, that indicates that there is some mistakes in your solutions. So you can go back to your problem, you can go back to your solutions and make corrections. So you should remember both the regression coefficients should share the same symbol, either plus or minus. So they cannot be 1 plus 1 minus. And the third property is if one regression coefficient is greater than 1, the other must be less than 1. For example, if bxy is greater than 1, maybe 1.2, in that situation, byx should be less than 1. So there might be anything but less than 1, 0.8, 0.5, 0.2, anything. And again, if byx is greater than 1, maybe 1.8 or 1.2 or 1.3, in that situation, bxy should be less than 1. So if any one regression coefficient is greater than 1, other should be less than 1. Both the regression coefficients cannot be more than 1, like bxy is 1.2 and byx is 1.6. Both the regression coefficients cannot be more than 1. So one regression coefficient is more than 1. In that situation, automatically the other regression coefficient should be less than 1. So if both the regression coefficient is more than 1, that indicates so if your problems needs further key. Your solutions need further key. Fourth one, the coefficient of correlation will have the same sign as regression coefficient. So we know that regression coefficient, so if R is positive, coefficient of correlation will have the same sign. So if R is positive, Bxy should be positive and Byx should be positive. And if R correlation coefficient is negative, Bxy and Byx should be negative. All the three terms should share the same sign. Or if the R is negative, Bxy cannot be positive and Byx cannot be positive. All the three terms should share the same sign. If R is positive, automatically the regression coefficient should be positive. And if it is negative, automatically these two terms should be negative. So they cannot share different signs. R is positive, Bxy negative, Byx positive cannot be possible. ಈ ಮೂರು ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ಗಳಿಗೆ ಕೂಡ ಸೇಮ್ ಸಿಂಬಲ್ ಇರಬೇಕು. ಐದರ್ ಮೂರು ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು ಅಥವಾ ಮೂರು ಟರ್ಮ್ಸ್ಗಳು ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್ ಇರ್ಬೋದು. ಇನ್ ಎನಿ ಕೇಸ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆರ್ ವ್ಯಾಲ್ಯೂ ಪಾಸಿಟಿವ್ ಇದೆ ಬಟ್ ರೆಗ್ರೆಷನ್ ಕೋಎಫಿಷಿಯಂಟ್ಸ್ಗಳು ನೆಗೆಟಿವ್ ಸಿಂಬಲ್ ಅನ್ನು ತೋರಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ದಟ್ ಇಂಡಿಕೇಟ್ಸ್ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸೊಲ್ಯೂಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿಯೋ ಮಿಸ್ಟೇಕ್ಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ, ನೀವು ಅದನ್ನು ಚೇಂಜಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಇಂಡಿಕೇಶನ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನು ಕೊಡ್ತದೆ. Fifth property is arithmetic mean of Byx and Bxy is equal to or greater than coefficient of correlation. So we can express like this: Bxy plus Byx divided by 2. That is arithmetic mean of Byx and Bxy. The arithmetic mean of regression coefficient should be greater than coefficient of correlation, is equal to or greater than coefficient of correlation. So coefficient of correlation is expressed as R. So we should be greater than or equal to R. So arithmetic mean of Byx and Bxy is equal or should be greater than R. Regression coefficient are independent of origin but not of scale. So here we should analyze independent of origin. That means we can take any assumed mean. So in the solution, we can take any number as our assumed mean. It will not change. Your results will not change. ನಿಮ್ಮ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿಯಾದಂಥ ಚೇಂಜಸ್ಗಳು ಆಗೋದಿಲ್ಲ ನೀವು ಯಾವುದೇ ನಂಬರ್ಸ್ಗಳನ್ನು ಅಸ್ಯೂಮ್ಡ್ ಮೀನ್ ಆಗಿ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಕೂಡ. But which is not of scale. It is not independent of scale. That means cannot divide it by class interval. So in case of considering dx values, our formula is x minus a divided by c. So here divided by c indicates divided by class interval. But here in case of regression, so we cannot divide this divided by class interval. If we have considered divided by class interval in our final solution, we have to give reverse adjustments to this class interval. We have to multiply by class interval at the end. So in case of regression coefficient, it's independent of origin. We can take any number as our assumed mean but not of scale. So we cannot divide the numbers by scale. And the last one, the two regression lines meet at the point x bar, y bar. The intersection point of regression line is x bar, y bar. At this particular point in a graph, the two lines will intersect. ಎರಡು ಲೈನ್ಸ್ಗಳು ಮರ್ಜ್ ಆಗುವಂಥ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಏನಿದೆ ಇದು ಎಕ್ಸ್ ಬಾರ್ ಮತ್ತು ವೈ ಬಾರ್ ಪ್ಲೇಸಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ದಿಸ್ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ಡ್ ಆಸ್ ಎ. ಇದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಎ ಅಂತ ಕರಿತೇವೆ. ಸ್ಟ್ಯಾಟಿಕ್ ಅಮೌಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ನಮ್ಮ ರೆಗ್ರೆಷನ್ ಈಕ್ವೇಷನ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕನ್ಸಿಡರ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. ಸೊ ದೀಸ್ 7 are the properties of regression analysis that you should remember. And the next thing, a regression analysis can be expressed in 3 different forms. So regression equation, regression lines, and regression coefficient. So here we are going to express it in terms of algebraic values, algebraic equations. Regression lines, the equation of regression lines. So regression lines ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ express ಮಾಡ್ತೇವೆ. So this is the simplification of our regression equation. And the regression coefficient, the change of variable for unit change in the other variable. So for the estimation, so we use these two terms, regression lines and regression coefficient. So we are going to study these terms in detail. Regression coefficient, so regression equations, we can express the equation as y equals to y bar plus byx into x minus x bar, and x equals to x bar plus bxy into y minus y bar. So these two terms are the regression equation. So you should remember these two equations. And we can calculate byx by the formula or our correlation into standard deviation of x by standard deviation of y. Again, byx formula or into standard deviation of y by standard deviation of x. Again, this also calculated in another formula. So here bxy equals to n into summation xy minus summation x into summation y divided by n into summation x square minus summation x whole square. So either we can use this formula, correlation standard deviation, or directly we can find the regression coefficient of bxy. Again here the same rules applies. We can use either this formula or this depending upon the problem, depending upon the informations given in the problem. So we can choose either of the formula. The thing is, you should remember all the formulas. Regression equations. So here regression coefficients values. The second thing, regression lines. So here x equals to a plus by. So in this formula, x represents dependent variable. So this represents dependent variable that we are going to find out the value of this. A represents constant and b represents slope. So the slope of change is determined by b. That means regression coefficient. And y represents uh, y represents independent variable. Y represents independent variable. And the same rules apply to the second formula, y equals to a plus bx. So here y value that we are going to find out, so it is the dependent variable, a is the constant and b is the slope, and x represents independent variable. When we know the value of x, we are going to find out the value of y. And when we know the value of y, we are going to find out the value of x. And here regression coefficients, the last form, it is bxy and byx, the formulas which we already seen in regression equations. So either we can use this formula or this depending upon the situation. So hope you understood these concepts, and in today's class we have seen regression meaning, properties of regression. There are 7 different properties for regression, the basic rules of regression, and the last thing, 3 formulas of regression. So regression equation, regression lines, and regression coefficient. I hope you understood. Thank you for watching. Take care and happy learning.